real personal beef with Diddy, but it's got to go down. The bits are there. I'm a gold miner. I just found some gold.
Were you surprised by the allegations about P. Diddy? Did that surprise you about P. Diddy? He's been on your show many times. Have you been to his
party? Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seen to show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that?
Something wild just dropped, and it's got everyone buzzing. Joe Rogan threw out a comment that's shaken up the internet, and this time, he's pointing straight at the silence surrounding Ellen DeGeneres. With the whole situation taking over headlines, people can't stop asking the big question. Why isn't anyone talking about how Ellen's name keeps slipping into the mix? It's like everyone's acting blind to it. When Diddy got hit with those heavy federal charges, the internet went full detective mode, digging up old clips, interviews, and moments that suddenly hit different now. That's when Ellen's name started circling again. People started re-watching those clips of Diddy on her show.
I guess Diddy just kept people at his houses because he's got multiple houses, and he's just had freak out part. Look at him. Look at Saucy said down. Go, Saucy.
Yeah. No, Saucy's crazy. Have you seen Saucy?
The laughter, the jokes, the party talk that once seemed harmless. But with everything going on now, those same clips got a whole new vibe. Like maybe there's something deeper behind the smiles. And here's where it gets spicy. Joe Rogan didn't sugarcoat a thing. He said there's definitely a reason Ellen's not being called out the same way others are. Diddy wasn't just a guest. He showed up on her show several times, laughing about wild nights like it was just casual talk. Now, those moments are being picked apart and reinterpreted like pieces of a puzzle that everyone somehow missed before. That quiet around Ellen, it's loud now. It makes you wonder, is it bad timing, or is this one of those topics everyone's too scared to touch?
You may have heard this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show, and then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
Especially since people still remember how her talk show ended after that big workplace scandal. That wasn't just online chatter, it flipped her whole image overnight. And then there's the move to the UK with Portia. Ellen said it was about politics, but a lot of people aren't buying that explanation. Some watchers think that timing looked way too perfect, like maybe there was another message behind it. Coincidence? Could be, but the internet doesn't believe in coincidences anymore. That's why fans are out here replaying every clip, every laugh, and every look, trying to piece together what might have really gone down behind the scenes. Before we get into what Joe Rogan actually said, let's take a step back and look at why Ellen's name keeps getting dragged into this mix. Everything really started when BuzzFeed News dropped that shocking expose about her show, and wow, it flipped her whole Be Kind image upside down overnight. Former staff members came forward with stories about intimidation, racism, and toxic behavior behind the scenes. Some even said they stayed quiet out of fear of losing their jobs or facing backlash.
A new thing, are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be eearly for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
You know I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late, because, you know, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It was intense. What really shook people was that wild contrast. On camera, Ellen was all about kindness, laughter, and good vibes. But those behind-the-scenes reports told a totally different story. They described a set filled with stress, pressure, and control. The backlash blew up so fast that several top producers got fired, and Ellen had to face everything out in public. Even after her apology, the storm didn't die down. People started asking tough questions. Was it just a few bad apples running wild, or was that toxic energy baked into the show's culture from the start? Ellen said she didn't know what was really going on behind the curtain, and that's when the public split in two. Some believed she had no idea, while others said, no way, she had to know. Either way, her reputation took a serious hit that she's still recovering from. The show managed to keep running for a bit, but when it finally ended, Ellen claimed she stopped because it wasn't challenging anymore, but fans weren't fully convinced. To many, it didn't feel like a creative decision. It felt like the trust had been broken and never really got fixed. Now this is where Joe Rogan really stirred the pot. On his podcast, while breaking down the whole Diddy situation, Rogan pointed out something wild.
All right, we're back with Sean Diddy Combs. Is it Diddy today? Because sometimes you're Puffy and sometimes you're Diddy. Or sometimes you're Daddy. What are you today?
I'm so confused today with it, as long as you say it in a nice way.
How so many celebrities used to openly joke about Diddy's parties like it was some kind of badge of honor. He even name-dropped a few stars, including Ashton Kutcher and others, who talked about being at those wild events like it was a bragging right. But then Rogan dropped the real bomb. One of the biggest places where those party convos happened on camera was none other than Ellen's show. Rogan didn't hold back with his point. How did all these famous faces hang out at those parties, talk about them in front of millions of people, laugh about it, and still say they never saw anything sketchy? Especially now with all the serious allegations surfacing, that old party talk hits totally different. The thing is, none of those conversations were subtle. They were right there on camera for everyone to see. There's one particular clip from 2018 that's making the rounds again. In it, Diddy tells Ellen he always invites her to his parties, but she never shows up. Then he adds something that has people raising eyebrows. The parties start early, but the real party starts later, around midnight, on the top floors. Ellen laughs and reacts like she already knows exactly what he's talking about. That's the clip people can't forget. It's locked into the internet timeline. So why does that little moment matter so much? Rogan thinks it's strange that Ellen's name barely even gets mentioned when the story hits major outlets. She had Diddy on her show multiple times, and that party talk wasn't just a one-time slip, it became a recurring joke between them. Fans are now rewatching every episode, trying to read between the lines and figure out if there was something more going on than just playful banter. And people didn't stop there.
The temple, and then look at the...
Let me see Ellen's background. What? Oh, similar. That looks like a building, though. Like
sure.
Yeah. Is that a building in LA? That might be a building in LA.
They started digging up old interviews, too. One that keeps popping up is from 2002, when Diddy went on Conan O'Brien's show and joked about needing locks on the doors at his parties. Back then, everyone laughed it off like edgy humor, but now that same comment sounds more like a warning sign. Fair or not, that's exactly how the internet's taking it today. Once those clips resurfaced, the conversation took a sharp turn. Fans are now asking, what did Ellen actually know, if anything, and why is she staying completely silent? Some even brought up an old 2016 tweet where Ellen jokingly called him cuddle snuggle stuff, which only stirred things up even more. Whether it's coincidence or not, people online aren't letting it slide this time. Then came those viral clips where Ellen got approached with questions and chose not to respond, and wow, the internet jumped on it fast. Some people swore her body language looked tense, like she was uncomfortable with the topic.
Up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last. I decided to take up gardening. I got chickens. Let me see what else I can tell you about that. It's been going on. Oh yeah, I got kicked.
While others said she just seemed caught off guard like anyone would if cameras popped up in their face. Either way, those moments added even more heat to the debate, and now everyone's got an opinion. Joe Rogan's take cut straight through all the noise. He basically said that if you were close enough to have Diddy on your show multiple times, laugh about those wild parties on national TV, and react like you already knew what those hints meant, then yeah, people are going to expect you to say something once things get serious. And that's where Rogan says it starts to feel strange. Not just Ellen's silence, but also the quiet coming from a bunch of familiar Hollywood names who used to be part of that same scene. Now, Rogan made it clear he's not accusing anyone of doing anything illegal, but he's pointing out how sketchy that silence looks from a public perception point of view. And it doesn't stop there. Remember that workplace scandal that rocked Ellen's show? Former staff described the set as a place where people felt too nervous to speak up, where pressure and power ruled everything. That connection isn't lost on the internet.
Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really, that early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party though.
Uh-huh.
No, it'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
Mm-hmm. And then it will carry on there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then the after party.
Mm-hmm. No.
Commenters online are now drawing parallels between that same culture of silence and how they think certain circles in Hollywood operate when big names and influence are involved. Again, this doesn't mean Ellen's guilty of anything, but it explains why her name keeps getting pulled back into the conversation. And those behind-the-scenes stories keep surfacing too. People still talk about things like the so-called Ellen gaze, mentioned by a former crew member who described the set's vibe as tense and cold, or claims that certain guests were quietly blacklisted over personal issues. Whether all of that is true or just exaggerated talk, fans keep pointing out the same pattern showing up again and again: control, pressure, and silence. Once the public starts spotting a pattern, they don't just sit back and watch old clips, they start digging deeper and reinterpreting everything. And here's where things get wild. There's one specific moment that fans keep bringing up as the biggest contrast ever. Back in 2009, right after Chris Brown faced serious allegations of assaulting Rihanna, Ellen went straight at Diddy on her show for letting Chris stay at his house. She was firm, serious, and completely against any kind of abuse. She even said she didn't want any girl thinking it's okay to go back to a guy who hit her. It was a powerful moment, one that made her look strong, fearless, and on the side of what's right. But now, years later, people are replaying that same clip with a whole new perspective. Viewers are wondering if that tough on-air stance really matched what was happening behind the curtain on her own set. That's where the contrast hits hard. Then came the twist no one forgot, when Ellen's own show got slammed with workplace allegations. Former staff stepped forward describing what they said felt like toxic behavior, tension, and lines being crossed. That's when people online started using the word hypocrisy, not because anyone proved she broke the law, but because the difference between her public image and those behind-the-scenes claims felt way too sharp to ignore. One minute she's saying, "I'm protecting women," and the next, reports are describing a set where people felt unsafe or mistreated. That kind of contrast gets people talking fast. Now, zooming out, the story only got messier when Ellen and Portia reportedly sold their massive Montecito mansion and moved out to rural England. Publicly, Ellen said it was because of the political climate in the US, but the timing made a lot of watchers suspicious. Some folks connected it straight back to the growing Diddy chaos, saying it felt a little too convenient. Whether that's true or not, it instantly became part of the bigger online theory. Fans started tracking which celebrities were speaking up about the Diddy case and which ones suddenly went completely silent. And then, boom, the internet spiraled even deeper into rumors. That's when wild claims started spreading that Ellen supposedly had an arrest warrant linked to her former DJ, Stephen Twitch Boss, who tragically passed away in late 2022, and that some kind of mysterious recording had been played in court. Fact-checkers immediately debunked the entire thing as completely false, but that didn't stop the rumor from catching fire online. What really shocked everyone wasn't that it was fake, it was how fast it blew up across social media, proving just how ready people are to believe anything that fits the growing mystery around Ellen. People online weren't even asking, "Is this true?" anymore. They were asking, "Does this fit the story we've already built?" With Ellen's public image already shaken, her name turned into a magnet for every dark, shocking rumor that could be tied to some Hollywood secrets theory. And that's the real danger here, because once the internet grabs hold of a narrative, rumors start spreading faster than real facts ever can. Still, the distrust around Ellen feels heavy, and that's exactly why these stories just won't fade away. Even when she tried to take control of her image again in her Netflix special For Your Approval, she went straight at it with humor, joking about being pushed out of Hollywood and even mentioning how the "Be Kind Girl Wasn't Kind" headline basically became her whole identity. It was her way of flipping the narrative, but it didn't land the same for everyone. Some people didn't find it funny at all. They were listening closely to how she said it. They noticed the tone, the pauses, the way she talked about ego, exposure, and how the hate always seems louder than the love. Ellen even said, "There are such extremes in this business. People either love you and idolize you, or they hate you, and those people somehow are louder." That line hit deep, but not for the reason she probably intended. For many viewers, that moment sounded less like reflection and more like deflection. Instead of full accountability, it came across like she was still trying to process the fallout, or maybe just dodge it altogether. And just when things started to calm down, the internet found something new to latch onto. Another viral moment that threw Ellen's name right back into chaos. Things really went off the rails when Aaron Rodgers popped up on Joe Rogan's podcast and casually compared Ellen's old talk show set to Epstein Island, all because the building's architecture looked kind of similar. It was a wild reach. Rogan immediately shut it down, saying it looked more like a random LA studio and that the comparison was ridiculous, probably just coincidence. But even with Rogan dismissing it right away, the fact that it came up at all showed just how shaky Ellen's reputation still is. One offhand comment turned into another internet storm, and it reminded everyone that once your public image cracks, every little thing can spark a wildfire of speculation. People online are going wild, literally mapping Ellen's name onto the same conspiracy charts used for some of the darkest stories in modern history. And it's not because there's any solid proof, it's because the internet loves a story that feels cinematic and scandalous. At this point, it's not even about evidence anymore. It's all about the vibe of the rumor and how believable it sounds in the chaos of online drama. So what's everyone actually saying about all this? Let's break through the noise and look at the real patterns instead of just the jokes and shade. Some commenters are mocking how far it's gone, saying things like, "Is that a building in LA? That might just be a building in," throwing sarcasm at how people are connecting dots that probably don't even exist. But others are taking it seriously, claiming Ellen knew more than she let on, and pointing out how she's now living quietly in England while Diddy faces serious legal trouble back in the States. Then there's a whole other group hyping Joe Rogan up, saying he's just brave enough to say what everyone else is too afraid to mention, asking why certain celebrities get torn apart in the media, while others seem to get off with a softer edit. That conversation is adding even more fuel to the already messy fire. And of course, the internet's favorite game, body language breakdowns. Clips of Ellen avoiding questions are all over TikTok and YouTube again, with people calling her facial expressions guilty-looking or nervous. But let's be honest, that's not proof, that's just perception. Still, perception is what keeps these online battles spinning non-stop. Scroll through any comment section and you'll see the same story playing on a loop. The toxic workplace drama, the apology that didn't sit right, the sudden move overseas that people read like a secret message, and now the Diddy talk resurfacing again. It's all tied together into one big dramatic narrative that refuses to die down, and the internet just can't get enough of it. And that right there, that's the real engine driving this entire story. People feel like Ellen never really faced full consequences, so now they're digging for a deeper reason. Remember that question from the very beginning. Why does it seem like no one wants to bring up Ellen's name when Diddy's situation comes up? Well, here's the answer most people end up believing. They think she's being handled differently. Not in a legal sense, but in a she's still Ellen DeGeneres kind of way, where status and influence quietly shape how the story gets told. It's all about connections, reputation, and the unspoken power to control how the public sees things, even after stepping away from daytime TV. But here's what's shifting now. Voices like Joe Rogan don't play by those old Hollywood rules. They'll put the quiet part out in the open, not to accuse, but to question. And once a huge platform like that turns something into a valid topic, the internet takes it and runs wild with it, fast. The real controversy isn't that people are claiming Ellen is somehow worse than Diddy. That's not what's happening. The real tension comes from the difference in how people are treated. Why do some celebrities get grilled non-stop, while others seem to get a softer edit, even when the same old clips, comments, or suspicious optics are sitting right there for everyone to see? That's what has people fired up, the sense that some names get protection while others get dragged. And that's why this conversation refuses to fade away. Diddy's legal chaos opened the floodgates, and now people are replaying old Ellen interviews, past jokes, and old party talk like detectives piecing together a mystery. What used to be lighthearted talk show moments are suddenly being dissected like coded hints from another era. It's wild how fast context can change once the public eye shifts. So what's next for Ellen? Honestly, probably a quiet life overseas, staying low-key and out of the spotlight, unless something solid and verifiable ever comes out. Not rumors, not facial expression theories, not vague internet speculation. There's no reason to believe she's tied to anything criminal. What's far more likely is that she'll be remembered for that messy workplace scandal era and the icy reputation that came with it, rather than any link to Diddy's world. As for Diddy, his story is still unfolding, with court battles, appeals, civil cases, and endless headlines that keep pulling more people into the mix. Some names belong in that conversation, but others just end up there because of how loud the internet echoes. That's how fast a narrative spins out of control. Once perception takes the wheel, proof barely matters. And that's exactly where it all circles back. Perception over proof, silence over statements, and a crowd that just can't stop connecting dots even when the lines don't actually line up. So what do you think about it all? Do you believe Ellen knew more than she ever let on? Or is this just the internet doing what it always does best, turning pure speculation into the next big spectacle?